We'll start with a little bit of things related to doing breathing meditation and posture, just to briefly get us going. So I'll explain the posture first. As Venerable Sangha said, the most important thing is to keep your spine upright. But in terms of other parts of the body, if you're in a chair, you want your feet flat on the floor. If you're on the floor or in a chair, whatever, you put your right hand on your left, your thumbs touching, your hands in your lap, close right into your body, just a little bit, maybe 4-finger span below your navel. And you want lift your heart up, so you're upright. That will put your head in the right position. You tuck your head down slightly. Your arms will be loose at your side. You want your tongue touches like the upper palate where it meets the teeth. And then your eyes are lowered. And you can maybe look out maybe 3 or 4 feet in front of you, not looking at anything in particular. And if your eyes close, that's fine, but it's nice to keep them slightly open to let some light in so you don't get drowsy. You don't want your head to go forward or back. That will either make you drowsy or too alert. So of all of that, the most important thing is to keep your spine upright. So we'll start with a little bit of breathing, and then I'll lead you through a body scan, and then we'll go into motivation and the meditation. To prepare ourselves, we first start with the body. So first, feel the areas of contact with you and the chair or the floor, the cushion, your hands in your lap, your feet touching against, and your legs touching against the floor. Just tune in to the physical sensations of the body where it makes contact. We want to unite the body and the mind to this present moment. So here I am. I feel myself sitting in this chair. I check my posture. I then try to tune into the body, and to prepare the body, it's good to do what we call a body scan. So start with just paying attention to the physical sensations of your lower extremities, your thighs, your calves, your feet. Tune in to your body experience. Do you feel any tension? What kind of sensations are you feeling? If you have any tension or pain, gently breathe through that area. Now do this with your belly. Aware of the abdomen falling and rising, just breathe naturally. Just feel the physical sensations of that belly. Let go of any tension. Now place your attention on the chest, the arms, the back. Breathe into any areas of tension gently. Don't force anything. You may feel tension in your shoulders, so you can lift them up like this and then let them drop. And if you do that a few times, it will help to alleviate that tension. And now turn your attention to your face, your scalp, your neck, your eyes, your jaw. It's good to put a little half smile. Make a half smile to help all these muscles relax. Make sure your heart is lifted up. If your heart's lifted up, your neck will be in a good position naturally. And you can just tuck your head down just slightly. Feel any sensations. Breathe and let those areas relax. You may want to spend a longer time on this at home when you do this on your own. It's very beneficial to help the mind to settle, to get rid of thoughts. Now turn your attention to the physical sensation of the breath as it enters and exits your nose. You feel the area of the upper lip and the end of the nose, the nostrils. Or maybe you prefer, if you're having a lot of thoughts, especially to feel the rising and falling of your belly, the abdomen. It's a bigger target. Pick one of those two and stay with it and just watch and feel the sensations of breathing. If your attention wanders, just gently bring it back to the physical sensation of the breath. And know that that noticing of the wandering is part of the practice of learning to be mindful of the breath. Let your mind feel joyful, just enjoying breathing. There's nothing else to be done. By way of motivation, let's take a moment to consider our excellent circumstances right now. Hearing the teachings of the Buddha, having the circumstances to be able to do this retreat, having the mental and physical capacity to participate. We have all the conditions we need at this moment to make our minds, to work on our minds in a positive way. As we enter a meditation, especially one on something like death, it's important to have like the background of experience meditating, where you can bring your mind to a positive or at least a neutral place by reflecting on aspects of the Dharma that lift the mind. Things like appreciation, the kindness of others, or precious human life, or Buddha nature, or just the ability to calm the mind and by focusing on the breath or the body, let go of discursive thoughts that are troubling you. Not to suppress them, but just to set them aside temporarily so you can balance yourself. So as we do this meditation, we want to learn how to be like a doctor to our own mind. And we do this so that we can live our lives meaningfully, have a sense of wonder and curiosity. Have an engagement with life and all that it brings without being overwhelmed and falling into mental states that aren't going to serve us or anyone else. And as we learn to do that, we'll be able to benefit ourselves and others. And eventually, we wish to be of the greatest benefit to all beings. So let's make that as our broad motivation here. And then to take a safe direction, we'll recite the Buddha's mantra a few times. Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Mune Soha. 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 So let's take some time to contemplate the points from the teaching this morning. We want to wrap our minds around this idea that only spiritual practice will be of benefit at the time of death. So we need to look at what we usually rely on and how it helps us and what its benefits and limitations are. So first, look at those who you love, your friends, your family. Look at how they help you in your life now and see if that's going to be possible at the time of death. Make this very real. What would it look like? Bring up some scenarios. try to see that even if loved ones are available physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you'll be moving on, and they won't be able to help you at that time. You'll be beyond their reach. So come to the conclusion that loved ones will be of no help at that moment, at that time. And now turn your attention to other things that we rely on. Things like our possessions, our enjoyments, our abilities, things inside and outside. Look at the things you rely on now. How are you living your life now? What do you rely on? And how will it be able to help you at the time of death? Try to see how all these sense objects will be lost. How can it help you then? Now try to rest with this conclusion that, wow, it's our Dharma practice that will be there. And if you're new, you won't know this deeply yet, but as you practice, every day we're encountering things where we have to learn to work with our mind and work with our attitudes, root out afflictions, develop our positive qualities. And we make these habits of mind day by day. This is what we'll have. It's not like we can get bummed out at the end of this meditation. Actually, it's quite joyful because we have something that's reliable. So take a moment to cultivate that, see where you got to on this meditation. If it didn't match up with the conclusion, then you want to learn more, study more, ask questions. Find out. It's very interesting to find out what's in the way. If you get a strong feeling of, yes, only Dharma practice will be helpful at the time of death, hold that thought without any more analysis. Just hold that thought and feeling. Concentrate on that. So we have a few minutes for questions or comments, and then we'll dedicate.
What are some suggestions on how to let go of attachments to people while still having compassion and love for them? They seem to be one in the same in my mind.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's hard to discern this, but if you understand how we think about attachment, it helps a lot. Because attachment is actually exaggerating the good qualities of something. Exaggerating or actually projecting, superimposing ones that aren't even there. And so when you can find, that you're doing that, which lots of times is in retrospect, like when you fall in love with somebody, they seem so perfect, and then you get to know them a little bit more, and the rose-colored glasses come off, and you see them more realistically. But that's just one example. We do this with a lot of things. We think that, I love ice cream personally, but I think the happiness is in the ice cream. And if that was the case, I should be able to keep eating ice cream endlessly and be in bliss all the time. But so we imbue things in ways that aren't realistic. And so you have to learn to see that. And that takes a lot of time. But if you contrast that with how we think about love in Buddhism, it's quite a big difference, because love is actually wishing someone to have happiness and its causes. So that's pretty different from projection, from superimposition, from exaggeration. And also, if you look into the causes of happiness and you see what those are, then you can kind of align yourself more with what love is. Because the causes of happiness in our culture are not how they are defined in Buddhism. So, what do you think of when you think of what brings happiness? Well, it might be a credit card, or it might be a good food, or good sex life, or whatever it is. But in Buddhism, the cause of happiness is virtue, wholesomeness. So it's a big difference. And so you have to learn first with very gross things, and then it gets more subtle and subtle. And you'll find that, like I remember when I moved here and I had to get rid of all of my possessions except for the ones I brought and gave to the Abbey. I was watching my mind a lot with certain things that I had trouble getting rid of. And so interesting to see, like, books and music were the two that were most interesting to watch, and then, what is it that I think is into these things that's bringing me happiness? And then I get here and I'm like, I get attached to a pencil. Like, I can get attached to anything. So you just watch yourself day after day. If you're like me, attachment is something I worked on way later. I worked on a lot of other things first to get me to the point where I could see attachment. I had to recognize and clear out anger, jealousy, pride. Attachment came after those. It was fourth on the list. You take your big ones first, and you'll get to, eventually you're going to end up at attachment. Ignorance underlying that. Okay, we have time, but this will be the last one.
About meditation, the progress in this lifetime, does it go from this life to the next, or do we not need to start from zero?
Yeah, this is actually a really excellent question. It's dealt with a little bit by Dharma, and I would say it this way. It's kind of like some of the stories we heard this morning, where Venerable Kadra was talking about how something came up and just immediately she started reciting the Tara mantra. We, by our mental habits, we create habits of mind, we create dispositions, and we carry those forward. So I think we might have heard, not in this teaching, but something like, even some things like dispositions towards different talents, like music or things like that. Sometimes there's some stories of things like where people have these abilities that are kind of carried over. That's a little harder for me to understand, but it shows something about the predispositions that go forward and forward. And the thing about these mental qualities, they're not like physical ones. They are additive. Like my grandma said to me once, she said, children don't understand this. She got remarried after my grandfather died a couple years later, and she said, love is additive. These mental qualities are additive. You don't have to start over. They build up. So once you generate within yourself a real sense of love or compassion or these positive qualities, you don't have to start over all the time once you have them at a certain level. You just keep adding to it. It's additive. Whereas our physical qualities, like if you're like, like they always use the example of a high jumper, you got to keep training, and it's just you meet these limitations. So mentally, we don't have the same kind of limitations. So we can create habits of mind in this life by how we live every day, working with every moment. We create these habits. They can be for positive or negative, to tell you the truth, or even indifferent. So we have to learn to recognize what are beneficial states of mind, what are neutral states of mind, what are negative states of mind, and eliminate the negative, take the neutral and try to turn them into positive. Like, we can do that very simply by using our imagination to, like, when we're washing dishes, think we're cleansing all of the afflictions of all sentient beings. That's a neutral activity that we turn into a positive, and then enhancing the positive ones. And we lay down these seeds that go into the next life. So then we'll dedicate. Thank you. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezi, may you stay until samsara ends.